The best time to set up your shrimping system is between low tide and ebb tide, maybe even an hour before high tide. If your boat has a motor, this will be easy. If not, you need to have someone to steer the boat in areas with strong currents. The next thing you need to pay attention to is the shape and direction of the line. It's best to stay close to a bank that can drift slowly and gradually, like a beach. Shrimp move like fish, but if you fish in multiple areas along the shore, you'll definitely catch a lot of shrimp. Typically, you'll want to start further out and get closer to the bank. Shrimp tend to run away when they see the net hit the water. I'm right-handed, so I swing and throw the net out with my left hand. To start, hold the line in your left hand and the net in your right hand. Reach over and hold the net and line tight with your left hand. Then, pull about 1/3 of the net down with your right hand and fold it over to form a small loop. Thread the loop and line through your left hand and pull it out with your right hand. Basically, you're just tightening the net to make it easier to shoot and avoid tangles. At this point, check the net for tangles or anything unusual. No, the next step requires you to have the net in your mouth or between your fingers. Raise your right arm down to about arm length and make a fist. At this point, we are ready to cast the net. Put the quality behind you and turn slightly to the side with more net in hand. Then swing your arm out and release the net in a twisting motion so that the group opens into a complete circle around the shrimp below. After you cast the net, let it sink to the bottom. After a few seconds, gently pull the line and slowly pull the net back towards you. Pull the net onto the boat and have a bucket or bucket ready to transfer the shrimp you just caught. If you know the shrimp don't have a plunger or there are only a few around, you can quickly add another pass right after the first to catch any that are still circling around. It definitely takes a little practice, but it is not impossible. There are many types of tools and methods for catching shrimp. Each tool requires some experience and skill. Practice makes perfect. Get familiar with some of the tool questions in this section and you will increase your chances of collecting more targets. Commercial shrimping can yield many collectibles, but it is a learned craft and not an activity for tourists or recreational anglers. These anglers are very experienced in a job that requires strength and is often dangerous. Cast nets are circular nets with mass distributed around the perimeter. They are designed to be handled and retrieved multiple times and are very effective at catching fish, shrimp or shot. The net is handled by hand so that it spreads out in the air before falling into the water and sinking onto targets. Cast nets are usually made from nylon or wire and common sizes range from 4 to 12 feet in diameter, although casting systems can be purchased in sizes of 20 feet or larger. A rope is attached to a net at one end and tied to your wrist at the other end. The mesh size is typically between 3/8 and 3/4 of an inch. Your goals, as well as the regulations that define your area, will help you determine what mesh size is best. Nets can be cast from boats, piers and docks, from shore, or while swimming in the water. One of the main questions I get asked is, what size net is best for casting? There are many factors that determine this answer: the strength of the caster, the type of target, the depth of the water, the skill of the caster, etc. My best answer is, what size you can cast best. There is no need to kill yourself by shooting a large group if all you can throw are bananas. Practicing at home on your chair, boat, or experience table on the water will be more effective. Watch this video on how to cast crawfish beads. A dragnet is an old, traditional method that is not used as much as it was when I was a kid in the early 1980s. A dragnet consists of a piece of mesh netting that is lined at each end with a wooden or fiberglass frame that is 6 to 8 feet long. The mesh is typically strung between rocks, usually 6 feet high, with small floating blocks along the top line and weights along the bottom line to hold it tight to the creek or ocean bottom. The size of dragnets varies, but the average size is about 6 feet high and 30 feet long. These nets are pulled over low tide or near shorelines with a person at each end. A dip net is very similar to a regular fishing net, however, it is usually smaller in mesh size and can be equipped with a long pole or handle. Dip nets can be used from boats, under blocks and bridges, or even when sweeping across shallow water is required. Nets used to catch shrimp can be seen as they drift in the upper water column. Typically, green lights are used at night to capture bridges and fences in all seasons, including winter. Shrimp traps or shrimp traps are names that are often used interchangeably with shrimp and crayfish. There are many slight variations in appearance and design, but for the purposes of this article, we will refer to them as baits. The best way to describe a shrimp is as a miniature version of a crab snake. Typically, traps are square or rectangular in shape with multiple entrances where shrimp enter but do not exit. There is an area to shoot. We will discuss the types of head targets for our shrimp traps later in this article. The wire mesh is much smaller than a crab trap, so the shrimp cannot escape. A wire attached to the head of the shrimp can be secured to a buoy, dock, bridge, or the side of your boat. Make sure you check your local regulations regarding the appropriate permits for shrimp use. It is also important that your trap is marked with some identification tag that most closely associates the tail of the shrimp with you. Another factor to consider when considering where to go shrimping is paying attention to water conditions. By conditions, we mean water clarity or salinity. Pink shrimp prefer clear water, brown shrimp prefer deeper water with more color, and white shrimp prefer shallower water and are tolerant of lower salinities than their counterparts. Regardless of the type of shrimp, they all have preferred water conditions that will greatly assist people in their inefficient large volume casting jobs. When considering the best time to go shrimping, it is important to check your local tide forecast. A good rule of thumb with tidal waters is, when there is less water, there are fewer places for fish to hide. In other words, the hours before and after low tide are best for recreational shrimping by hand because the shrimp tend to be more concentrated. Often, shrimping at night or during a full moon will be more effective. Take extra precautions in case you plan a night trip. Even spaces you choose to be familiar with can seem very vague at night. It is often difficult to navigate at night, and even familiar areas can be quite disorienting, especially when shrimping from a boat. I have lost more than one acquaintance in boating accidents, including my great-grandfather. Always respect the dangers of the water and know your limits. It is important to note that shrimp are very sensitive to light. They are often found in shallower water than usual on cloudy days. There are also different types of shrimp. Have you ever heard the saying, "Shrimp are the gatekeepers of the sea"? If you don't do it, don't be ashamed. We just made it up not too long ago. But it is true. Today, we will analyze a day in the life of a shrimp, and let me tell you, it will be very clean. Shrimp do not live long. 1 to 6 years is the lifespan of most shrimp. Ghost shrimp live for just a year, while Carradine shrimp can live for up to 6 years. As such, shrimp grow quite quickly, going through several stages of molting in just a few weeks before they become tiny versions of adult shrimp. This involves constantly shedding their skin as they continue to grow. They don't become fully grown and edible adults until July to August from the time they hatch. And while they may not have a long lifespan, that doesn't make their lives any less important on this planet. In fact, shrimp play an invaluable role in helping to keep our oceans, seas, and trash clean. As I mentioned earlier, they are janitors. In other words, they are the street sweepers of the sea. However, more than just janitors, some shrimp also do their part by becoming dentists and cleaning the mouths of other fish. The Pacific hygiene shrimp, Lysmata amboinensis, storm their bodies around in a dancing motion to attract fish and signal them that it's time to check. The fish grab these shrimp and open their mouths, and the shrimp then crawls into the fish's mouths and cleans out the blood-sucking parasites inside. Another thing that might surprise you is that shrimp are omnivores, meaning they will eat anything. And, if we're being honest, they will. It doesn't matter if what they're eating is dead or alive, they'll eat it. That shows their destructive potential. 24 hours a day, they never stop doing what they do, cleaning up trash. And this is great for removing all sorts of small HIV contaminants from aquariums, seas, and streams, like algae, dead and living plants, decomposing worms, leftover fish food, and so on. I think you get the idea. And like any good workforce, there are special shrimps that keep the ocean clean at night. Peppermint is nocturnal. While other shrimps are scheduling dental appointments or cleaning out nooks and crannies during the day, these shrimp are sleeping soundly, resting tired of running around, or perhaps just wanting a little break from cleaning. They like to practice their backstroke. That's right. Did you know that shrimp are actually very good swimmers? While this isn't the typical swimming style we see in fish, since shrimp don't have fins, they can propel themselves backwards by flexing their abdominal and tail muscles in succession.